Okay, we're good, Marley.
This is a special city council. Sorry. This is a special city council meeting Tuesday, August 23rd, 2022 at 7 PM. We'll do a roll call.
Lauren? Here. Zach?
Here.
Ty?
Present.
Linda?
Here.
George?
Present.
And Chad is absent.
And Chad had called me a little bit ago. His father-in-law had fallen, and so they had to take him by ambulance to the hospital. So he thought he's gonna be late, so. To open the meeting tonight, I guess, we'll ask for do we do minutes on these special meetings from the last meeting? We don't, do we?
No, we do those at our next regular meeting.
Right. Okay. The first thing on the docket is the chief of police position.
Yes, I can speak to that. After careful deliberation, the consensus amongst, the committee as well as we did have some assistance from BCI and social services, and we had quite a bit of, help outside, but ultimately the decision came down to the police committee, and we would like to approve Demetrius Jamerson for the chief of police position. And then we need to start out the salary. We wanted to start at 80,000.
Okay, I think the first thing, before we talk about salary, I guess, I think we got to get a motion for whether or not he is going to be the chief of police.
I'd make a motion.
Okay,
Second.
motion's been made by George Little Creek and seconded by Linda Weinbar. Discussion. And that can include anybody back there.
No, just that it was a 6-month.
6 month probationary
probationary
period.
period, and then after that, it would be established to be a full-time permanent position, I guess.
Is that including the time he's already interimed?
No, that would start now.
That starts now?
Well, after council approval.
Right. Okay. Is there any other discussion? Okay, I will call for a vote, and with that, I would like a roll call vote again.
Lauren?
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Ty?
Aye.
Linda?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Okay, with no nays, motion carries. Congratulations. You're the new chief of police. You got something.
I just wanted to say thank you guys for the opportunity, and I look forward to what the future has and moving the department in the right direction. So thank you, guys.
We're excited to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I think we got a good one. Okay, the next thing on the docket is a part-time office assistant position.
That'd be me. The employment committee met last night and we interviewed a couple individuals. We had some discussion after the interviews and we ultimately kind of gave Ann Gustafson the nod for the job. She would be starting at $20 an hour with no more than 20 hours per week. And this is to help Lynn out during the week, so I'd make a motion to approve Ann Gustafson for the part-time office assistant.
Okay, Linda Weinbar made the motion to approve Ann Gustafson. Chad Hirschland seconded the motion. Roll call vote on this, please.
Lauren,
Aye.
Zach.
Aye.
Ty.
Aye.
Linda.
Aye.
George.
Aye.
Chad.
With a unanimous decision, motion carries. One thing to back up, and it's my fault, I forgot that, on the chief of police, you mentioned salary.
Starting, yeah, and I don't know if that was part of the motion or if it needs to be separate or
Well,
if that needs to bounce back to the employment committee. I'm not really sure. I haven't hired a chief of police before. So,
Neither, but.
yeah, fair enough. So that was the consensus of the committee, though, starting at 80. Then what did we say after the 6-month probationary period?
82.
Did it go to 82 after the 6-month probationary period?
Yes.
So that was the recommendation of the committee.
Does that match what we budgeted?
Yep.
I think it did, yeah. Okay.
I'd need a motion to,
Move to accept the recommendation of the committee for the starting wage of chief of police.
I'll second that.
okay, Chad made the motion, George Little Creek seconded it. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. With none opposed, motion carries. Okay, moving on to the third item on the agenda. A gaming permit.
Okay, this, after our last meeting on August 9th, this gaming permit originally had been submitted by the Park District for a restricted event permit for a poker tournament on September 10th. I got word from the Attorney General's office that they cannot have both a local and a restricted permit in the same fiscal year. So that permit, which was gaming permit number 12-20-2022, will become null and void. So they did find a different organization to do the poker tournament, so we need to approve this.
So moved.
Second.
Stanley Area Cares for Kids.
The SAC program,
And that, is that where the funds are going in, this SAC program, or?
no.
Going to the pool?
Yes, for the pool reconstruction.
Okay, did you make a motion?
I did.
Okay, motion's been made by Ty Taylor to accept the application or the change of the application.
Second.
Okay, Lauren Frost seconded it. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Votes unanimous, motion carries. Next thing is the county lift station. And I don't know who's gonna speak to that, Chad maybe? About this pump?
I'd love to, but this is the first I've seen it.
Okay. Does anyone else know anything about it?
I don't know the exact details. This was actually submitted to Curtis prior. Didn't end up on our regular meeting agenda, but we did contact them. They said this quote is still good because most generally, you know, they are only good for 30 days or a certain amount of time. But from my understanding is this is repairs to the pump at the county lift station. And I'm sorry, that's about all I know on it.
So as far as the county lift station, is that ours to maintain, or?
Yes,
Yes.
we maintain all of the lift stations.
It's on the
Is it
north
at
side of the road.
community building or the
It's on the north side of the road, I believe.
South complex.
South, right?
Yeah. That's just why they call it the county lift station.
It's always been our lift station, I just call it that because that's where it's at. But
Okay, can I get a motion to approve this?
So move.
I'll second.
Okay, a motion by Chad, second by Linda. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign, opposed. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is, well, we were gonna go with Country Estates, but we're gonna go with Greenstone first. Greenstone Properties.
Hello, my name is Stephen Taylor. It's good to address you again. I apologize. I didn't realize some of the council had changed and the mayor had changed. And when we go to retrogress for a minute, when Kendra was the attorney, we sat down and we came to a conclusion that we need to put together a hold harmless agreement and an agreement called a stipulation agreement. And in that stipulation agreement, there were several items that we needed to accomplish in order to be able to move the project forward. When we did that, we signed the hold harmless agreement with the previous mayor and said we agree to that, but we couldn't sign the stipulation agreement at that time because we didn't have our financing in place, which required a $400,000 letter of credit to the city for the performance of the job, and so on. So we couldn't do that. And all going along through this process, we were communicating, and all of a sudden Kendra left on May 9th. And I still thought everything was okay. And I do have to apologize. We have a PO box and it's been an irritation. Amanda reminded me of it the other day that we checked for tax records and things and we hadn't checked it. And I guess we got a letter saying you were going to have a council meeting and you were going to address it. And we did not get that until Amanda sent it to us on the 26th, I believe it was, of July. And so we got the letter, and it was on that day that I talked to her. I told her the appraiser was coming to the property to do an appraisal. We had that appraisal in place. We got that the first part of August. And everything is a go forward, but our bank said we can't do anything. The city council has said we're going to tear the project down, so they can't approve it. What does it mean to approve it? Let me back up just a little bit and tell you just some things that have happened. We brought an engineer out to the job at an expense of about $30,000 to get reports. We got one report that we turned into the city. The second report I just got a week ago, and it's finalized. So we have our engineering reports in place. We had the health department come. They identified things that needed to be taken care of. And we have a mitigation company in the wings that's ready to start to do the cleanup of the property and get everything taken care of. We have a general contractor with all these have North Dakota licenses. We have a general contractor in place. We have a landscaping contractor in place, and we're ready to start. We held the permit filing, which is going to be $7,755, because we didn't want to file it back in January and not be able to do anything from January till now, and the permit be 8 months old. So we're ready to file that permit as soon as our bank signs off, which should be within a week or so, provided your position changes. If it doesn't, it's a moot point. So the other thing that when the financing goes in place, it pays all the taxes that are due. There's about $75,000 of taxes that were paid off. We've had to clear several liens off of the property, which we took care of. And I mean, we can go through the steps. And if you look at the stipulation agreement, I didn't bring copies for you, but all of those were items in the stipulation agreement that we were doing ahead of time to be sure we were fully ready to sign and be able to go forward. Outside of that, I don't want to, I know you've made a decision. I understand that. But we had fully intended to come forward and finish the project. And that's where we are. And I can't tell you any more than that. We've got about $75,000 invested since our December meeting. in this project, and we would like to finish it and make it a contribution to the city. And so we're still willing to come up and do it, but we're kind of at, I've been in your place. I was a city councilman. I understand you have to make those decisions. You have constituents that are concerned in that. I know that that's something that you do. And I wasn't here at your meeting to even address anything, and I apologize. I thought we were fine, but evidently we weren't. So that's really all I had to say about it. I understand that the individuals that started this project looked a little flaky, and I understand that. But I got involved with this in December, and I promised you at the December meeting we would finalize it and finish it. And we do have, the bank has agreed, the individuals that are borrowing the money have a good position with the bank, and that will happen. The worst thing that can happen is you get a letter of credit. If we don't perform, you have $400,000 to tear the buildings down, rather than taking it out of your city funds. So that's really the story. And I apologize if we've caused you any concerns. Any questions, anything that I can answer?
Anybody got any questions for him? Fritz, would you like to talk to this?
Well, this all started last December,
Correct.
and we gave you a lot of chances. And I remember Amanda telling me many times she couldn't get a hold of you. You gave everybody your cell number that night at the meeting you were here. And you should have known about this stuff going on.
Yeah, I didn't. And when did you try to call me?
That PO box?
No, not the PO box. When did you try to call me?
The PO box that you guys have as the record, address of record, that is what we are legally required to send that stuff to. If you don't have access to it, that's not our fault. Then change it to something that you do have access to.
Okay.
We have been able to, when we send the certified letters, when the attorneys send them on our behalf, they also have been emailing them to Mr. Taylor.
No, they
Obviously with
haven't.
Kendra being, I can forward you all the emails from Kendra. You have all of them.
I'm talking the current attorney did not forward it.
So I sent it to you right after right after the council approved it. But the thing is we don't have to do that either, Mr. Mayor. We don't have to do that. We're not required to. It's just a convenience that we do for them. Because we know that they do not have access completely to that mailbox.
I guess the way I see it, we're 9 months into the third or fourth good graces on this, and we've saw a fence be put up. If that's considered due diligence on your part, what is expected of us to trust that we're not gonna see a fence in December still, and that's it? You guys have given us absolutely zero reason to believe that you're gonna carry through on this project. You speak of the $75,000 that you guys have invested in it already. Well, we've got $75,000 invested in that property tax.
Right.
So
And like I said, that's why we're getting the loan. That'll be paid off. A $400,000 letter of credit goes to the city. That is assurance that it'll be done.
why wait? Do we get to reset that date again now?
There'll be a stipulation agreement. We have to perform, and if we're performing and we're meeting code and we're performing the work and getting it done, and we're not violating any city ordinances and that, we finish it. I'm assuming, looking at it, we're probably talking a year's time to finish it.
And that's
And I
both
guess
buildings?
What, both, yes, both buildings, Linda.
Because that's
Both
the agreement.
Both buildings finished.
When you talked to me on the phone, you basically said that you would take care of knocking down the one building and just fix the other.
Well, I said that was an option. I said, if you decide to tear it down, I said, if the nineplex is the biggest concern, I said, we could take the nineplex down and finish the 12plex. But we can finish both buildings, the engineering, and I'll share the engineering reports with Amanda and council. The engineering reports indicate that there was not a problem with finishing them. They're structurally sound. They don't look structurally sound, but they are. And we can finish them and get them done. Our intention, I mean, we intend as soon as that permit's filed, we're gonna have boots on the ground working on that project, and you'll see a difference.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Amanda, we've had our own engineering survey that says it's an unsafe property to even be in.
I don't know if it's technically our engineering survey, it's just that we have deemed it because of the steps within our ordinance, that it qualifies as a dangerous building according to what the ordinances of the city are.
We haven't asked.
The engineer that came out was on their behalf. I do have the report for the 12-plex, but I do not have the report for the smaller building.
Right.
The smaller building is the one that is in worse shape. So
But this has been going on for how many years? They've been looking like this and nothing.
I believe the
nothing.
original permits were in 2014.
Yeah. So,
2016.
Okay,
uh,
it's 6 of one,
it's
half
an
a dozen of
eyesore
the other.
is what it is.
It is.
It's horrible. It looks bad for not only the city, but that development up there.
We agree.
I mean, would you build a house up there? I
No.
sure wouldn't.
No, we agree.
Not with that sitting next door.
Well, it's ruined property values for other owners as well. And there's issues in previous meetings, like on 5/12 of 20, we had reports of kids being on the property
Right.
because the fences weren't maintained and all there was is a fence that was put up and then part of it got blown down not longer
I
after.
agree.
And so what would change if we were to,
Well, that's why we came and put up a new fence in December in the middle of winter. And it's a secure fence now.
there's no way for the property owners out in that area that I would be okay with approving anything extra. I say that they should be torn down. I feel like you guys have had so long, so long to work on those buildings and it's just hurt our entire community. Even the people who are outside of city limits who have to drive past those buildings, it's upsetting to look at and see it still standing there. You guys haven't done anything that I've seen that would motivate me to believe you on what you say.
Zach, have you got any comments?
Just, I guess I have a hard time believing that things are gonna come into place that fast. Unless the contractor was hired a long time ago and is on their schedule, which I doubt that's true if the financing isn't even finished and, I have a hard time believing it's gonna get finished in a timely manner, so I don't want to reverse course from what we did last month, I guess.
Financing would have been finished the second week in August had you not put a stop on the project. So
So what's the reason it wasn't finished between December and August then?
because there were several things that were required to take place. And that was the engineering reports and that had to be done so that we knew we had a viable project. And there were liens that had to be resolved before we could even put a new mortgage on the property. I mean, there were several things that, I could take you down through page by page. I'd be glad to send you a book on the whole thing. But there were several things. We got bids on what we need to get done and we need to get it done.
Okay, is there any other council members, comments?
No, I just, for the sake of argument, hearing all this, I would much rather pay the difference on the taxes and get it back. Like, that's a no-brainer, but there's no surety to guarantee anything will happen that way, because I feel like we've had this conversation before already. I just want to take into consideration, is there any course forward that guarantees that anything changes?
He referred to himself, he said if we don't perform, you have 400,000, so he's.
And your taxes are paid. I'm sorry, Chad, I didn't interrupt you. Your taxes are paid, 400,000. If we don't perform, then Amanda's fully capable of putting a cease and desist on the project, and you guys can take your quotes about tearing it down and tear it down. You have the money to do that.
We're not in the business of tearing stuff down.
We don't want you to.
And the expectation of the taxes is for every single person that you see sitting behind you too.
Yep.
They all expect to pay their taxes on an annual basis.
I agree.
So let's not use the taxes as any kind of incentive to try to convince us to see it your way. That's an expectation of mine of you.
I wasn't using it as that. I was just saying that we taken care of. I have not been involved in the project except from December forward.
Do you have all those documents for us today? Do you have the engineering reports? Do you have?
Yeah, I
the
can send
letters from
them.
the banks?
I
Do
can
you
send it
have-
to Amanda's computer right now and she can print them off and hand it to you. Every single one of them.
Well, it's,
I have a letter from the bank that, I'm sorry, go ahead, Chad.
Move to table it.
okay, there's been a motion to move the table.
We'll set a special meeting for this. There's other people here that.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Just one other thing on that. I'd like to know, because the general public's sentiment on this, all of them I've talked to, is basically get rid of it.
Yeah.
Because it is ugly. How do the people in the back of the room feel? Fritz, you've been a mayor for a long time. How do you feel about this?
Well, the reason we purposely drug our feet a little bit is I always kind of had in my head, it's gonna cost $500,000 to tear that down. That's gonna go, it's gonna get tore down, that's gonna get put against the taxes. Nobody's gonna ever buy them lots with that money against those. So that's why the best thing that could happen is if they would have got the letter of credit to us. And originally I wanted 500,000 and he wanted 300,000 and we split it at 4.
That's correct.
But if you're gonna do this, I would give him 30 days to have his financing in order, taxes paid off, and the letter of credit to the city of Stanley. You know, and you're gonna have to have that agreement in place that he's talking about. But by tabling it, you're just kicking it down the road.
We are, but it gives people more time to talk, but, and think it over, I guess. But I appreciate your comment on that, and I guess I agree with you on that part, because but you guys didn't live up to your expectations either, or what you actually told the other council. That's the problem I've got with it. Is there any sentiment back other than that from the other people here?
I personally don't know why you take any more money in.
They've asked us that question. We want to finish it. So you don't think there's a need for it in the community?
I don't.
Not this time.
Well, it's going to take a year to complete, a year plus.
Started it.
Huh? Yeah, I know.
When it started.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know, maybe we need for it now.
The other fourplex is sitting empty that was finished.
There's enough housing in this town right now. It's not.
Now you see what I mean when I say
Yep.
public
No, I
sentiment.
understand. I understand.
So, well, it has been tabled. What's that, Fritz?
You haven't voted on the motion today?
No, we haven't. It has been tabled. There was a motion made by Chad, seconded by Ty. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposed. Motion carries. We'll table this until, we didn't put a date on that. Our next meeting. And then it needs to be handled at that meeting, so.
Okay.
We got that much time.
We can address that.
Yeah, I mean,
Amanda, if you'd want to send all the reports of everything that you've got to us so that we have a chance to look at it.
Yep.
I mean, basically, when I'm
I
looking
can
at this,
do
I'm
that.
taking a 2-week pause on what I was fully equipped to do tonight. But I'd rather use your money versus ours if the inevitable is gonna happen.
I'm sorry. Say that one more
The
time.
way I'm looking at this, we're taking a 2-week pause.
Right.
This isn't gonna go on indefinitely. We will have an answer, and I'd rather use your money. If everything is in place that you say it is,
Right.
fine. I might take that gamble. But if I got an opportunity to take that off the taxpayers' back, I will.
Okay. Understand. I appreciate and thank you for your time. Okay. Have a good day.
Thank you. Okay, the next thing on the agenda is Country Estates Water Main Extension.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor and council. I guess I'll just briefly touch on the bid that we had a couple of weeks ago now, I guess. So like I said before, the bids had a 45-day hold on them, so they will expire on the 18th of September unless agreeable to that low bidder and the council. They did come in $100,000 less than everyone else. So whether if they want to agree to extend the hold on that bid is really a question that I would have, I guess. The North Dakota State Water Commission should have sent, I got an email actually right after I sent this, an amendment to the city's agreement, which increased the cost share by $273,900. So that's a total of $303,300 cost share. Just some scenarios here, I guess. So if there's a couple of special assessment scenarios, just keep in mind that none of this includes any interest cost over time. So scenario one, the city pays 100% of the loop line to the north, and the remaining is special assessed. The estimated special assessment per landowner is roughly $13,972. Remember, no interest. Scenario two, the city pays 100% of the loop line plus 20% of the remaining costs not covered by the State Water Commission. Estimated assessment cost, $11,177. No interest. Scenario three, the city pays 100% of the loop line plus 75% of the remaining costs not covered by the State Water Commission. Estimated special assessment cost per landowner, $3,493. So another thing to note is all these landowners, if they were to get water and hooked up, they're gonna need a water meter. A couple of months ago, I was working with Curtis and letting him know that he should definitely be looking at getting those water meters because I'm sure there was a backlog. And there was about a year, I think it was probably 3-4 months ago, Curtis, I believe, said that he ordered some more, but that's something that maybe the city wants to check on, that order got complete. I think he said they currently have 11 meters, but if he uses them all up, he's not going to have any for any ones that break or whatever the case is. So again, JMAC was the low bidder. They went with the boring option, roughly $355,000 for construction. The State Water Commission meeting awarded 60% cost share to all the items that we submitted. Everything was eligible for cost share. And I guess I'll touch on the sewer project. Talked to Lynn, and she said that the assessment cost right now that she had was $27,470.05. And she did mention that that did not include any interest over time and did not include any bonding or legal, which I think she gave me a rough estimate of like $5,000. You divide that by 11, that's another $450 a person. So that cost assumed that the north-south trunk line of that sewer was 100% covered by the city. And assumed their 100% of the remaining project was special assessed. So I'm gonna skip down to just the history of this project. So Country Estates was annexed into the city sometime in the spring of 2020. I think it was originally kind of being brought up in September of 2019. And from my understanding, that was after the,
It was before that.
okay. It was sometime around there. I think it maybe had to do with a lot of the rain that they had in that area, and people were having issues with their septic systems. And maybe they also seen that Dollar General had water and sewer, so maybe the water and sewer was close enough to them that they wanted it. But anyhow, the latest estimate that we have was dated 9/30/2019. Okay, so that estimate was done prior to any design or any quantities known at that time. A rough estimate. Not a quote, not a bid. So the estimated at that time, that number that was given, the estimated special assessment per parcel was roughly $34,416. That estimate assumed that 80% of the water and sewer would be special assessed. Between then and the completion of the sewer, 2 parcels were combined into one. That drove up everybody's special assessment from $34,416 to an estimated $37,545. So since 2019, there's been a lot of change in the world. COVID, new president, the Russian-Ukraine war thing. But just some examples of a 6-inch water main over time. So in 2019, Tioga had a pretty big project. I think it was roughly 30,000 or 3,000 linear feet of pipe. That was $48 is what that contractor bid that at. Okay, so now let's move to August of 21. August of 21, what's that? That's the city CIP project. Wagner bid that 6-inch water main at $60 a foot. Okay, so let's move to May of 22. What's May of 22? That's a project that we did in eastern Montana, Baker, Montana. That contractor bid that at $70 a foot. Okay, so let's move to August of 22. August of 22, this contractor, JMac, bid that water line at $79 a foot. So if you look at from 2019, roughly when it was starting being talked about of getting water and sewer over there, there has been rate increases, all due to various things that has happened throughout the world and inflation. It's just how it works. So there's a lot of factors that we use when we come up with our engineer's estimate. And the things that we use are past projects, these ones that I just listed, trying to find a similar project and trying to find a similar project in the area. And so an engineer's estimate shouldn't be confused as a contractor's bid or a contractor's quote. So I just want to clear that up. So I guess at the end of the day, this meeting was kind of held for this Country Estates decision on if the city wanted to award or reject the bids for the Country Estates water.
Do you take into account if something's gonna be in the future that prices will raise and there'll be price increases when you give your quotes and things like that?
We definitely do. And I wasn't a part of the original concept of when this was gonna get built. But if they came to the city in 2019, before September of 2019, I believe you said, Mr. Mayor, if it was thought that they were gonna get water that next year, yeah, there's a little bit more, they're inflating because of COVID happened and the shortage of all the supply change.
Because on the January 14th, 2020 meetings, the previous engineer stated to wait on the water project until 2022 construction season. He had he was the one who stated that it should
Sure.
be pushed out that far. So he didn't take into account that inflation would occur during that time when he gave those bids, or
When was that?
that was as of the January 14th, 2020 minutes.
Yeah, I don't know if he did or didn't. I would assume that he definitely would have.
Because he states that the earliest,
And I think probably the reason why he did that or recommended that was the 60% cost share that was going to get from the State Water Commission. That process of getting that, I mean, that took a year and a half almost.
right.
Yeah.
But he stated from the beginning that it would be pushed out that far. So I'm wondering what he took into account when he thought about inflation over so many years' time.
Sure. And I guess I could give him a call tomorrow and see if he did, but I guess at the end of the day, I don't know if he did or didn't, and I don't know if he was gonna remember that he did or didn't.
Like, when you give a bid, how far?
So we
what
try to
range
look,
do
we
you
try to
like
look
give
at,
yourself?
okay, when do you want this built? Do you want this built in 4 years from now? Okay, and then we're gonna start inflating some stuff pretty significantly. Do you want this built in 3 months from now? Then the inflation isn't happening so drastically.
But what margin do you typically,
So typically, industry standard for an engineer's estimate before a project is even put together, designed, built, you have a plus 30 to negative 15 factor. That's roughly how close they expect that estimate to be. And as the design gets closer and closer to being done, those should get narrower and narrower.
in that number that you gave there where you stated that it would be 34,000, it was also said from the previous engineer that that was before the 20% cost that the city would take over on that as well. So in this number that you gave here for the estimated split, and it says 80% would be special assessed, that number was given on, let's see, the February 11th, 2020 meeting. It was stated what the total project would be for water and sewer. And then it said it would be 25 to 30,000 per homeowner, and that a grant could cover up to 60% of the water. And then it raised in March, on the March 10th meeting. And then it said it could go up to $40,000 per homeowner, and that's without the 60% grant and without the 20% from the city. So none of that, like, I'm looking at these numbers and then the inflation costs, but the previous engineer already knew that those costs were gonna be further out, and it just looks like it's hard to see when you say the industry standard is plus 30, and these homeowners would be looking at double.
Okay.
Where did you get your facts, Donovan,
From
for this sheet?
which one, I guess, are you?
Well, for one thing, I mean, you say assessment split equally between 12 parcels. Actually, it was 13 parcels. And 3 lots were actually made into
3
one.
was made into 1?
Not that it makes a difference, but it's a
Yeah.
wrong fact.
That's what I found on that last estimate of 9/30/2019. And maybe he knew back then that they were gonna combine 3 into 2, and then they combined 3 into 1. I don't know.
No, he knew they were combining 3 into 1. But, so I don't know why that would be written up that way. When you say a quote is not, a contractor's quote should not be confused with an engineer's estimate, I agree with you. What I don't agree with is putting an engineer's estimate out with asking for quotes, putting that number out there. Because I do know how contractors basically act when they see that engineer's estimate. So I don't agree with that going out with the quote, but that's beside the point. It's done a lot.
Yeah, a lot of contractors ask for that.
I know they do, but I mean,
And I understand where you're coming from, but I think some of that also comes with the bond that they get.
Another question I have, I guess, it's me that I have the question. When you spec pipe out, why does it have to be over 200 pounds of pressure for that spec?
So the reason why we have 6-inch PVC class 235, that's 235 PSI. That's the maximum operating pressure of that pipe, 235 PSI. So there's the 235 and there's the 160 for the PVC. What we found in the 160 is that when they compact that pipe actually eggshells. And what we believe, and what a lot of other engineers believe, is that jump from 160 to 235 is worth that cost. And
it's a pretty
so you have
significant
our 6-inch class 235. So that's our standard. So then you start looking at your HDPE pipe. Okay, you want something comparable, right? So that's why we went with the 250, because we wanted at least the 235 rather than the 200 PSI.
But most typically, I mean, if you're gonna engineer it, it's 1.25 over what your operating pressures are. That's fine. I mean, I just don't understand why you have to be 4 times what your operating pressure is.
I guess and you'll see this with a lot of cities and engineering companies, that class 235 PVC is the most common because everyone believes that extra strength in that is well worth the investment.
You explained it. You explained the egging or the egg shape of it. That has really nothing to do with the internal pressure rating. That's more of an external compression rating that they're basing that off of, not a need for the internal pressure.
Right.
I know all the pipe that I've installed over the years is, we've always used 1.5 about 1.25 to 1.5 over the operating pressure. And 250, I mean, that's more than 4 times greater because our operating pressure on our water lines is 60 pounds. Even at what you say, 150, that's still 2.5 times more.
And there is a significant difference in the
price
cost.
difference that we see in my line business is, I want to say it's almost double to that extra heavy wall pipe. In comparison to the pipe that is 1.5, or in this case, probably 2 times, 2.5 times. The extra cost of it, I guess in my world, we would never do that because there's no risk. And I mean, ours is buried at the same depth that's driven over by 100 semis a day. And you have to have a problem with any of them. Where we would have a problem, if we're gonna have one, is gonna be a fuse or a fit. With actual pipe, egg shaping, if you will, that little bit. I just don't see that would ever come into play. And I'll be perfectly honest, where a lot of that comes from is, it's just more money. It's more money for everybody. The engineering firm gets paid more, the contractor gets paid more, people building the pipe get paid more, and the city, the infrastructure fund or the taxpayer pays more money. And that's where I'm thinking it's at. I mean, you look at how long has this clay been in there? And in our sewer lines, it stood up for 60+ years being driven on, the lead pipe that's in there that we're taking out that we're finding, that's just as open.
It's older.
And I'll guarantee you that that isn't any better than 2.5 times operating pressure. So I think some of these prices are overinflated just strictly because we're over engineering stuff. And I'd like, we've had pretty open dialogue the last couple months. What's your feelings on that?
I still feel like that 235, because that's what a lot of cities use.
What about the ones that don't? What's their standard?
Well, then it's, you got your 235 and your 160, and then your HDP, you got your 200 and your 250.
So I guess what I'm asking is it that 1.5 to 2 times operating pressure? Are those kind of the two ranges that we're looking at as what normal engineering looks at? The 4 times, because you get that little assumed extra, or the 2 times? Because obviously we can't put in 60-pound pipe, right?
Right.
Well, and typically egging on a pipe is put in wrong. It's put in bad, actually. It's compacted wrong. You're not gonna egg your pipe if you don't, if you do your compaction right. So, I mean, you can look at that a lot of different ways.
I guess I at least want to say that the engineering cost doesn't go up for installation on one versus the other, unless it takes longer for one or the other.
I hope it don't go up.
I mean, we don't inflate it because the engineers are going to get paid
No,
anymore.
not for the material, but what is the added cost at the end of the job? Is it 10% of the job, or what is there anything like that on there?
Occasionally contracts are done that way, but Bros has never done that one that way for the city.
Well, I guess where we're at on this thing is I am not sure where you got your options. You got options 1, 2, and 3
Those are just I wouldn't even call those options. Those are just scenarios.
scenarios.
Yeah, just something to you guys to look at. Well, if we did this is what it'd be.
So Lynn, we have the final price, what they're paying for sewer per house.
Well, right now, it's basically $28,000 plus you hook up your own to your house.
Yeah, as far as the own to your house, I think we have to not count them. because
No,
that's always been.
That's
the
right.
mindset.
You're absolutely
So
right.
what I wanna know is, at the end of the day, when the sewer is done, what is each one of these people that live out there gonna be assessed?
Well, the figure he did give you is correct. The 27,470.05 is what we have plugged in based off of costs. But as he stated, that does not include interest or bond and legal fees because we haven't finalized everything yet. But the city's 20% hasn't also been figured into this either. And I don't normally do that till once we've done the bond and I have our interest figured in, and then I figure the city's 20% in.
So right now, the total cost, not counting anybody, just the cost as it sits per lot, is $24,705 plus bond fees, legal fees.
27.
No, 27,000.
27,470.05.
I mean, I realize that you weren't here, so don't take these things toward you. But does a city engineer, who do you represent as a city engineer?
The city. The
Pardon?
city?
Right. So you're a representative of the city. where I'm going with this, my point is, a representative of the city come out and said, it will be $25,000 if you annex for water and sewer. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He was a representative of the city as well.
Do we have that written down somewhere?
We do in past minutes where it states what they would originally have before they were given on 114 what it would be. And it was stated that the city would pay, and it did say that it was gonna be, as the engineer's quote or estimate or whatever word it would be. And then they had them sign that annex. They were annexed in, and then right after they were, it looks like the price went up for the sewer quite a lot. And then everybody wanted to pause that project because they were unhappy with that price. It's not what they were told, so they didn't want to follow through, but they were already annexed in. And then it looks like it kind of kept getting drug out and drug out. And then I think it was Linda that had pressured saying, well, if we don't do it now, then we're just going to be sitting on it even longer. And then that's when it was followed through on. And I know that I went back all the way from every meeting that's listed online and read through, and I have all the dates and everything that was taken from, let's see, 219 is the first thing that came up kind of with that area from where the dollar store changed over to being commercial. And then that's kind of right after that took place is when in our minutes where I can see that they looked at coming into the city. So what, I know that the city previously stated that it would be 80% to owners and 20%, or excuse me, 80% to owners and 20% to the city. But then I see that it was approved to do 75% to the city and 25% to the owners for the CIP project, phase 1. And then I know that previously, the previous mayor stated that it was because the previous owners, sorry, I have it written down here, that they had paid, that's for the initial one that goes, but to kind of touch on that is that the ones out in the estates, they won't be getting all the services that everybody in town gets or got, I guess. They won't have streets, they won't have sewage, they won't have lights. We're not even taking over their roads. So, I mean, they're still responsible for everything along those lines. Yet they're being taxed for all the same services that people in town are being taxed for. And frankly, their taxes went up by almost double. My computer died, or else I would have their previous tax ones. And I don't see why we couldn't offer the same exact thing that we're doing for the rest of our community, where we're giving them 25% and we're taking 75%. I think it would be fair to the owners out there who came in and we instantly charged them higher taxes and aren't offering them a fraction of the services that everybody else in town are getting as well. We kind of had them sign in, and I know a few of them even looked at getting out of the annex, and the Inget previous attorney told them that they would have to hire their own attorneys to get out of it. There was also 2 owners that didn't want to come into the project, but they didn't have a choice, but yet we didn't pull in one of the properties that were out there. And I want to say it was the insurance agency. And, the other owners looked at why they couldn't be brought in to help with those costs as well. But so we crammed all the landowners in, but left out the other business. So I'm curious as to that as well. That could have been a benefit to the newly taxpayers, city taxpayers.
Jesse, do you have
I
any?
think that insurance already had water and sewer, if I'm, no,
They have water, not necessarily.
was water.
But they're surrounded by city now and they're not
Right.
paying taxes, and they kind of get the same benefit. They're paying lower taxes because the county taxes are quite a bit cheaper than the city taxes.
Oh, they have annexed into the city.
They have since then?
They are annexed to the city, and they did get city water, but they do not have city sewer.
But I don't see why we couldn't do the 75% like we're offering all the other homeowners in town. And if we are setting a precedent that we'll only do it for them because they previously paid a portion, we're asking them to pay the same portion and they're not even getting this. We're asking them to pay more and they're not even getting all of the services that are offered. We're not even taking the roads. We're just.
Mayor, may I make a comment, please?
Yes?
So, actually, the city does have jurisdiction or ownership of the road that was included in the annexation. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think anybody was in a hurry about doing anything with the street, but our city crew does go maintain that road. So they go out and blade it and there are other areas in the city that actually do not have street lights, such as Annabelle. And when we did do the streetlights in the John Ryan, we actually did that as a special assessment. And just to make another note, when we did the water and sewer in Westview Plaza, the second edition, and then of course the road comes out and connects to the truck route. They are actually for their water and sewer, the city did not contribute 20%. Their special assessments for each of those lots was over $73,000. So I just thought I'd make that note so everybody is aware.
Which area is that?
Westview Plaza, second edition.
It's all commercial.
Oh, it's commercial.
Yeah.
Well, that's a road.
It's commercial versus residential.
I'd like to hear from the landowners.
Well,
They feel it's an area if they have any input.
Fritz?
Fritz, yep.
So, we treated this as a new development because it was new to the city when they annexed in. Same as what you're calling Westview Plaza, I call Frontier Village out there. They paid 100% of sewer, water, and streets. We treated it the same as the John Ryan edition, which is way bigger than Country Estates. They paid 100% of everything. Annabelle Homes out here paid 100%. The only one, the very first one, and I'm not completely sure, but the Joe Lucy edition, I think the city contributed 20%, which was the beginning of the wave, and we probably didn't know any better then, didn't know what was coming after that, but we treated this as a new development, which it is. The big reason they waited till the year after on the water was they couldn't get that 60% if they'd have did it that year. And the people out there knew that and were in favor of doing that because they were paying over half, the state was.
I think the biggest difference, though, Fritz, and I think you have to agree with me, is that the John Ryan edition, the Annabelle Home edition, all of them were done by a developer. So yes, he did pay them on the front end, but do you think for a minute that cost wasn't passed on to the property owner to recover?
I'm sure it was.
Well, this isn't a development then.
Right. But it's
So
still
here-
new services.
but you have to compare equally.
Yeah.
And that's not making a fair comparison when the developer gets to pass that bill of infrastructure onto each individual home out there. And you know dang good and well that he passed it on at cost plus. He paid his bills off of that stuff too. So he bought the pipe, yep, I don't disagree. He paid to have it installed, but he had to administrate all that. So he paid a wage out of that. He upped the cost of all of them footages or whatever you want to call it, whether it's sidewalks, whether it's, all of that is passed on to each individual homeowner. So you can't say that that's an evil.
Well, it's a new property in the tax base of the city and you're supplying them with sewer and water, it don't matter whether it's John Ryan or Country Estates. And the one thing the city did for Country Estates is the 20%, which we didn't do for most of the other ones. So we thought we were being more than fair. And then we actually went more than that to do that east trunk line for the sewer. You know, we figured we spent about 36% of that project, the city did, not 20 by doing that. And this project will be over 22 if the city pays for that looping part. So,
Well, it wouldn't be needed, the loop.
but anytime you can loop a water line, you're way
But
better off.
it wouldn't be needed.
Yeah.
It's not something that's mandatory that you have to
No.
put in the loop. So that's not actually accurate either, Fritz.
No, till you get one end of a block that complains about their water.
It's not accurate.
Yep.
I mean,
Tioga's going through it right now
Well-
with 3 blocks that aren't looped.
I know.
So, I mean, everybody says if you can loop them, you're way better off. I mean, it's just, plus if there's a water break,
I agree with you.
That shouldn't be part of the landowner's problem, that's a city.
well, it's a benefit to the landowner too. Because if there's a water break here, you can shut
Okay,
off.
it's benefit to whoever you loop
We
with.
got 2 feeds, so.
Do you charge all the other houses on the other development then as well? Because that's benefiting them then.
It was all part of the initial design, like up at Ryan and stuff, so.
No, I mean, like out there, if we loop that line, are you gonna bill Montreal Development, that development over there? Are you gonna bill them as well for part of that loop?
I don't think so, because I
wouldn't you?
think they loop a different direction, but I ain't 100%
No, they don't. They're not looped at all.
on that one.
I think that's, what is that, Country Meadows?
Yep.
Yeah, that's a dead end line.
That's a dead end line.
Yeah.
I know it is.
So you could charge them a little bit for giving them an extra water supply.
And I think that's why Chad brought up the point of, well, maybe the city, I mean, Chad, you agree, you put the loop in, it's better for everyone. Well, maybe the city would pay for that. Right? That was
Yeah.
brought
I mean,
up.
The loop is, as far as I'm concerned, if you put a loop in, that's 100% on the city. The same reason why we thought that the.
And I think your one scenario
Yeah,
did that.
and
Right.
all of those scenarios talked about paying for that, the city paying for that loop.
Well, I think at the end of the day, where the problem lies, probably more than anything, is the latitude that was given for the engineering to represent at a homeowner meeting, and he put that number out there, 25 to 30,000.
And I was at all those meetings, and the very first one, we met with most of you guys out at Bros Engineering. And I think Lynn was there and Kurt was there and Jeff, the engineer at that time. And I don't think they'd even annexed in yet, had you at that time? And you wanted a number to see if, so he kind of pulled that out of his, wherever his hat or his rear end, but he had to come up with a number.
So point made, if he didn't have a good accurate number, he should have told them, I don't have a good number.
Right.
Don't throw out 25 to 30,000 then.
It wasn't.
Because now you're,
He didn't throw out 25 to 30,000 when he talked to us initially. It was $25,000.
I'm going by what we have recorded in the minutes.
Okay.
25 to 30 is what we truly have to look at in the minutes.
And that was even listed before the city took on 20%.
So, I mean, that's where I'm hung up. It's like, if you're gonna give somebody a number like that, you better be damn sure that it's gonna be close. If I sell you a car and I tell you it's gonna be 20,000 and you come in tomorrow and pay for it, it's 40, what are you gonna tell me?
But if you get a price today and come 3 years from now to pick it up, you think it's gonna be the same price?
No, I'm not saying that.
You know, this,
But he also said, I'll give you this price and we're gonna do it in 3 years. It's stated in the minutes where he said, we will do the water.
no,
in
the initial
construction
meeting was
season.
not a city meeting. There's no minutes.
It's on the 1/14/2020 meeting when he stated.
Oh, that, but the initial one where
Yeah.
they got the 25,000, that was just a meeting with you guys. That was nothing official. There was no minutes.
Well, I guess I don't ever remember him saying it was gonna be 3 years. It's just that he had 3 different, plans that he come up with. There wasn't one of them that were good.
Yep.
And I mean, that's a fact. They weren't gonna work. One of them was actually going down the middle of our street, and he had it down as 17 feet deep. So I mean, that's some of the things that caused us to say, stop. This ain't gonna work. He actually wanted to put 2 cleanouts in each one of our yards, you know, and run it out to the front,
Well,
coming out of the back of our houses. You're gonna have a new system put in and pay that kind of money? I don't think so. Not to have 2 sweeps in there that easily could plug, and guess what? That's on the homeowner because it's not at the trunk line.
right, and I agree with you. You don't want any sweeps, but if you do have a sweep, plumbing code says that you have to have a clean out.
Yeah, you do.
So
I mean,
that's why the 2 clean out thing
No,
probably was.
absolutely, I've put them in. Don't believe in them, but I've put them in. And who the heck wants 2 cleanouts in the middle of your yard? You know, with a new system that you're paying that much money for. It's just not a feasible plan.
Right, and I think, I can't say for certain, but I know that the city's ordinances talk about the utilities being in the right of way. And that was probably like what he looked at right away. Okay, we gotta put it in the road, we gotta put it in the right of way. And, you know, I think with the water, that was also looked at because that's where your guys' waters was coming into the well. And the city, and maybe it wasn't these council members. And, you know, Curtis talked about it. No, we don't want it back there. We want it in our right of way.
So I got 2 more things and I'll go sit down, but on this price of the pipe, you know, what is the difference per lot if you go to the cheaper, lighter pipe?
Probably a lot,
Like, how
because
much?
there's quite a difference in the price of pipe. That was just a question that I had.
So the other comment I got is, I've been on fire calls where we've blown up a city main.
Yep.
When you shut that truck down and you don't have your bypass open,
Well, I'll tell you what, if you had, any one of these, you're not gonna blow that main up.
Okay.
We get valves shut in the oil field, they get slammed shut all the time. Pumps kick on and there's no softeners on a lot of those pumps. And it doesn't blow the fittings off them. I mean, that pipe's rated because that's what it'll take. You put that on some of the systems that are in the city right now that are underground, you're gonna blow the pipe right out of the ground. I mean, that's just the way it is, because stuff has gotten better. You know, it's got more flex, it's got, you know, more give. So that's all I say. HDPE is probably my favorite pipe because of that.
And we gave them, you know, that option to use that.
Yeah,
They-
it was SDR9 that you gave them, and really, I mean, SDR9 is overrated, you know. SDR11 is a lot more available and is far cheaper. But the bid is what it is. I'm not saying that, Donovan. I mean, the bid went out and the bid is what it is.
so the last thing is, when Jeff did that, he was a contract labor for the city is what you guys are.
So he was representing the
He
city.
was representatives, but it was an engineer's estimate. It was not a promise. Because how can you promise something?
So
2 years
you
down
ask
the
people
road?
to sign, annexation, and it's not a promise? It's just
No.
well, I sure hope it'll only cost you 25,000, but we want you to annex to the city and double your taxes. No, Fritz, that wasn't what it was, and you know that.
And the taxes thing, you guys knew they were gonna go up.
We did.
Yeah, I mean, that's.
You said right in the meeting, your tax is probably gonna go up 20%.
Yep,
Well,
it is what it-
20%'s a far cry from what our taxes went up.
But then your valuations, and I looked at it when we built the shop out there, it was 25% difference between being out there and being in the city. But we couldn't get sewer and water. But the valuation of the building didn't change, whether it was in the city or out. But well, your house in city limits is worth more than sitting in the same spot before you annexed in, just because you're in the city.
Well, typically that's because you have all the services,
Yeah.
that it's worth more.
Yeah.
We don't have all the services.
And the last thing would be on the 75-25. I can't see doing it I still think of it as a new development because you guys have paid, what, 1 year property taxes to the city, basically? These guys over here there's 13 blocks for the people that are probably gonna not like their bill either. That, they've been paying for 75, 100 years taxes. So
Well, they've been paying a lot of taxes, but they
this
got the
is
use of,
repair, it's not
they got all the
new,
use of the services for that many years too,
Yep.
Fritz.
but they paid for it.
That's
every
right, they
month.
did pay for it. And,
But it's two different things.
Yeah. We see it differently.
Yep.
No question about it, but,
Oh, definitely.
Hello,
Hi.
I'll probably shake again like the last time. To your point, you did tell us at the meeting our taxes would go up about 25%. And Joan Hollicomb said, oh, no, it's gonna be more than that. And she said, how many ever mills? I don't understand that, I have to look that stuff up, but that was one of the things that you had said. Going into this project, had we all known the prices, we maybe wouldn't have signed the dotted line. Just saying. I had to make notes because I get nervous. Okay, the dollar store. Donovan is gone. But I talked to one of the guys in that JEDCAS group, and he said that when the engineering, which was before Donovan, oh, sorry.
It's fine.
I didn't see it, sorry. It was before you. But he said, we paid them to engineer that property, so if somebody, because you have to be touching, I'm nervous, I'm sorry. You have to be touching the property to tie in, is that correct? That's.
Annex in.
Yes, yes. And so the JEDCAS group said, would you engineer it so that if any of those residents that are touching, they could annex in? When they did our project, something had not been measured right. And so who's touching your you?
We touched it.
And you guys couldn't tie in because things weren't, is there like a lift or something?
Tie into the water?
Yeah, you guys
I
couldn't.
think it's because I can't remember what they said it was. Like, it's not a proper line there to tie into or something. It's not a main line. Because that fire hydrant is like literally
It's on
on the corner of us.
Okay,
Because we thought, well, maybe we could just tie into that, because we're actually the ones that need the water because we haul water
right,
every month. And we're getting too old for this,
right.
But, because we thought, well, maybe we can just tie in ourselves, but we were told no, because it's not the proper place to tie in or,
Okay, I just,
So-
I'm going by what one of these JEDCAS owners had said, that they paid this company to engineer it, so if anybody wanted to tie in, that was part of the, so, and goodness. When the project was going on, we were told, we did a walkthrough with Jeff and I don't remember who else was there, but they said, these are the trees that we're gonna have to take out. Well, in my yard, they took more trees out. In Melly's yard, they took more trees out. So, you know, you get a little frustrated when this is your home and things, this is where we live, and they come in. They're not there that long. They're there to do a project and then they get to leave. So if it's not done as to what they told us, it gets a little frustrating. And as far as every time we met, the price would go up. And on one of the last, I think they did 4 drawings, is that correct?
Yeah. I think so.
So I think they were doing measuring in the septic system in one of the last 2 or 3 or 4 drawings, is that correct? When they went around and measured the septics?
Right, he did go around and shot all the cleanouts on the septic system to get the actual invert elevation. That was basically the 3rd drawing that he did.
So my question is that, should that have been done in the 1st or 2nd drawing, maybe?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I'm just asking. So it's a little frustrating as a taxpayer, and I don't know who holds them accountable when things aren't. So,
I think there's no question that there was some problems with that project. You know, I do think there was some problems with that project, but looking at the water main extension is kind of what we got to do now.
okay.
We know what our cost is going forward on the sewer. And we kind of got to look at exactly where we're going to be on this water. And what are we willing to do on the water? So are you willing to pay the price, or do you want to reject it and just use what we got? And that's kind of you want to talk to that, Jesse?
Well, you try to talk.
Thank you for your time.
You bet.
As far as rejecting, I don't know if we really want to reject it. You got a couple homes out there that need water. There's a bunch of us that don't need water. So it kind of puts us in a hard spot with which way we go on this. The fact that we were quoted the 25 to 30,000, I'm a businessman. If I quoted something like that, I stand behind it. And I guess that's what I'm asking from the city, is to stand behind what we were told at the very beginning of this project. I don't know how the rest of them feel, but I'm not gonna pay any more for a bunch of water that was misquoted to us. How much cheaper is that pipe, Donovan? You know what the price is?
I can look into it.
Okay.
How about that?
That would probably help a little bit,
Well,
but at the same time, I don't want to drive prices up either because of engineering.
well, Donovan's deal on here was the same thing as what Lauren basically was suggesting, the 75-25. And the estimated cost to each individual would be $3,493 to each homeowner, the assessed cost. Right now, basically, we've paid, if they take that 20% off, we've paid 25,000. Most everybody has. And if it says 25 to 30,000, and we got charged another $3,500, and I maybe I shouldn't be saying this because I'm mayor right now, but I, for one, as a homeowner out there, I guess I would say that would be fair. I don't know how you guys feel, but you need to speak your mind right now.
So I've been doing a little figuring over here. 28,000 we can assume, let's just assume that that is the number for the sewer, correct? That's adding on that extra plus another $200 to get,
Yeah,
to be relative.
less 20%.
Minus 20% brings us to $22,400 per homeowner. Now, if we use, and now this is strictly just using J-Max bid of $355,269. That's no engineering fees, that's no bond, that's no legal. I don't know what the numbers are, so I can't feel right about putting them up there. So using $355,269, take 60% of that out for what the state water is gonna help us pay for. That leaves $142,108. That's the 40% of just J-Max bill. Now, of that 40%, 80% is the property owner, the way it stands. And let me check this real quick, but so that's $113,686.40. If you divide that by 11, that brings us down to $10,335 per property. We're at $32,735 for water and sewer, plus whatever the break on engineering bond interest is. The $3,493, if you use the 22,000, if everybody can agree 22,400 is accurate with that math that I just used.
I checked that.
That gets us right to $25,893 for the project. Assuming that the city picks up all of that, the cost of the engineering costs, the bond costs, the legal costs, and the interest.
So scenario 3 is what.
So what I will say about scenario 3 there, that 3,493, that includes preliminary engineering, construction engineering, and estimated bond. That would have came out to what? If you look at the last letter, must be 505-ish, 50500. If you look at the last page, that's the number that we got from the State Water Commission. Those are all, obviously they use J-Max bid. They used the preliminary design number because that's done. And they used an estimated construction engineering and an estimated legal and bond. That's where that 505, if you look under cost share funding summary, the bottom table, 1, 2, 3, 4 row columns over under total.
Which one is probably?
This one right here. So this was the preliminary engineering fee, we got 60% of it. And then this is construction engineering, admin and legal, and construction cost, and this is 60% of that.
So that,
Yeah.
whatever this minus this is what we got paid, our dollars. Right?
Yep.
Do you guys need a 10-minute recess to talk about this between yourselves? Huh?
Sure.
Okay, that's what we'll do. We'll take a 10-minute recess.
That next room is available, Jesse. Just go out that door and take a meeting.
The dog is apparently taking a shower in the basement.
How what?
Because at 30, I'm going by whatever minutes happened, because that's a hard enough to win.
Does Dusty get a promotion too?
The 22,400 plus the 10,355, that puts us at.
Yep.
That's 2,700 above what we can, I think what we can stand on. I mean, is that fair? Is that kind of sound reasonable? And I know that's putting you right in the, and I don't, I'm not trying to do that.
Yeah, and I didn't look through those minutes. I don't know what those minutes says, but if those are in the minutes, those are in the minutes.
Yeah, and I can guarantee you that's what's. But I'm thinking if we go to. Yeah. No. I mean, you think that, and here's my perspective. 500,000.
So we can just kind of like draw on a little bit.
And then they come in.
Ada had to class and then when we got done at
With no way. We at least have off of those services. I mean, I'm prepared, and I think that. Let that come a little deeper. And that's what.
And I said, Fred wants to know, when he can come visit.
Let's split some differences, it's 3,000 more, if that's indeed.
Once I get some.
You could have saw that just in.
Before,
Of a normal project.
But it was such a.
It could easily recognize $3,000 per house.
and that's kind of what I asked Zach. I said,
Well, I think they're not. And I mean, I'm glad that you guys had them, because that actually causes. Some to some. Understand. And to be really honest, it's unfortunate.
I think you talked to her yesterday and she said she's going to take care of
No, they're not. No, I agree. I mean, there is different requirements on the health for one.
And they're really, I know they did probably.
Right, and you know, and I think, I mean, that's a how good point it's, and what was really nice is to say, all right, your data, we'll send this in, and we'll see what they say. No, and I mean, you probably going 80% of the deal, that you're talking to the coffee. Am I not right though? I mean, but. we can argue that the work that you guys have seen work. But then at that point, if they say, oh, we're not good, we're not good. Nothing. I wrote it. Then it's like, we haven't done our due diligence to have that. They say, all right, I'll let you know. To some. And like this deal, those two numbers, they're so close to nothing. Whatever that number is.
You saw like when you came in the door, where the
Whatever.
I didn't know.
We're sitting there in the other part. Hard for me, because I used to do 75%.
Right.
I mean, you had that conversation. Record, that what we did for this next phase.
Easier than in our grass.
Yeah, now it's 4.3 with the assumed $500,000. So by the time of this deal. So that's where I'm at on this, I just think.
Obviously, there's a number that someone has.
That's what I'm just, 25 is what they said. The minutes that we can do after 25 to 80. I'm prepared to say so 28.5. That's. That's what.
Yeah, that's
So here's my thing. Here's how we're justifying it, so you guys can see. So right here is their service. Right here is the unemployment development, where that took in preliminary engineering and all that, that's their share now. And there's just our minutes, we can find 25, give us a 30,000. Here's 25. We're such a 30. Let's just see. And it's just. We're looking at. So here's their. This stuff, right? So that's the 80%. This is the current number. And that's what they're doing. And that is 80% of the 40%. So right around, we're just saying, well, crop food are just 735,000. We're still there, so there's stuff in there. That's, it's in there. I understand the whole.
Yeah, that one.
Cigarette, you know, that's not bad.
Not from the signing of the. No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. They were here at the beginning of March. Because I asked them, oh, because I didn't allow.
Let's re-adjourn the meeting.
There's a big project.
I guess first off, I'd ask you guys what you come up with.
We're willing to accept the 3,500 for the whole on the water property.
So that's scenario 3 that I laid out for everyone, right?
Okay, so here's what I had figured out with my head scratching and what happened. So I explained the 22,400 credit for the sewer, that's what is pretty dang close, we think, is what you're gonna be special on. As the project sits right now, there's $10,335 per homeowner for the water. I'm prepared to make a motion to, so you guys are stuck at the 25,000, and we're looking at the 32,000, correct? You know where I'm coming at from there. We found them in the minutes where it said 25 to 30. That's 5,000 more than what you guys are really probably wanting. So here's where I'm at. I'm willing to make a motion that 28,500 when you walk out the door tonight, that's your specials. Whatever gets added on for whatever after that, that's gonna fall to us. But this kicking it down the road next year, right now it's $55 a foot to drill a well. So you're gonna have $20,000 into a new well if you're casing things. And I know that to be a true number because I talked to a well.
Can you drill a well in city limits? Like,
Yeah.
let's say this doesn't go through, would I be able to go drill a well
Yep.
in city limits?
Yep. No, we talked about that ordinance and it was, right, Amanda? Am I
I
speaking
would
out of
have to
turn?
look at the minutes. I know that we put something in front of you guys, but I don't remember what it was. It was, sorry, Ellen.
Oh, I think we,
that was, God, over a year ago. We'd have to look it up and see.
I don't think that we said you could.
I think you guys said that the wells that were in town could stay, but I don't know if it was ever discussed if you could drill a well because it is required to have city services if you are in the city limits.
Because you can drill a well for your own irrigation purposes.
It would have to be as what the ordinance
So,
states. I don't know. This
As
is where
folks-
Kurt would be very helpful.
but to speak to that, it's $55 a foot, that's for a hole drilled 200 feet or whatever, and case, that's no pump, that's no electrical. So with my way of thinking, 28,500, you're not getting everything you want, but we're also not getting everything we want. And we're a hell of a lot closer to where we all want to be than we were before we walked in here, and it's already quarter to 9. We can sit and do this all night, and we can do it again next month, and we can do it again next month.
Well, we can't really.
And we can kick it down the road if you deny it, and then next year, now are we stuck at 34,000 because that is the inflation? So my motion on the table is to approve this at 28,500 for the property owners.
Landowner,
Out the door.
What's that?
landowner will accept it.
I'll second your motion.
Okay, there's been a motion by Chad, seconded by Lauren for $28,500 to complete this project.
And that doesn't
Except-
include
Just
interest,
this
right?
project, the water.
That's
their
both.
whole special for water and sewer.
Okay,
Whatever gets added on after that, if there's costs that come in later,
And Chad's talking like change orders in the field, something, there's a septic tank they run into, they gotta remove for $5,000. That's what he's talking about. But I think insurance or interest is still a thing, right?
the interest has to be
That's-
part of,
We understand.
that's all part of.
the special
what
assessment
could
process,
be
yes.
added, But the overruns, the cost plus type stuff, anything like that, I want these guys to go to leave tonight, knowing pretty down close what that special is gonna be.
You guys got one more thing I'd like to throw in. Whoever's in charge of the entire project, we want our property put back in shape where it's not like
The sewer project was
horrible. We want
absolutely horrendous. I've never seen a company do things the way they did things.
I will give you my personal
Oh.
guarantee that I will.
Because
go out
they
there.
tore up our road, they didn't think they had to fix anything. I mean, it was, Dave had payday watching them every day. Like, somebody needs to be in charge and make sure things are going.
Oh my God.
Okay, I'm gonna call for any more discussion.
I will say that at the end of that project, we took the liberty to talk to every single one of those landowners and said, are you guys good with everything? That's all I'm gonna say on that.
Okay. Question's been called for. Roll call vote.
Lauren,
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Ty,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Chad.
All right.
The ayes have it. It's unanimous. Motion carries. And with that motion carrying, do you need a motion to accept those bids?
Yeah, I think we can do it at the next one unless you want to do it now and then I can get them prepared and sent out to that contractor. That contractor did tell me that they might start it this year, so just.
Well, I would just as soon handle it here.
To approve the bid.
And was there a second?
I'll second.
George seconded. Lauren made the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposed.
We should do roll call.
Okay,
Lauren,
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Ty?
Aye.
Linda?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Chad?
All right.
motion carries, unanimous vote. So thank you, Donovan. Thank you guys for coming. Sorry it got late again.
I just have one quick finish, I mean, I don't wanna like prolong this, but we had talked about this.
Are we gonna get a ticket if we don't listen to you?
Well, I am back to work, so you might. No, but as far as like keeping our wells, just for like watering our grass and stuff, and we had talked about that, when this process started, and I think there is like a way you gotta put on like a backflow or something, right? So that's still a potential. I just wanted to throw that out there so we can make sure that's still an option if we want to keep them.
Yeah, you're welcome to stay, but you absolutely have to backflow preventer so that.
Sure.
We don't contaminate the city water.
Yep.
Well,
Yep,
you'd,
and that's
you'd
understandable.
want
I
one
just-
anyway.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Next month I won't be here, but I can call in if I need. Casey, who's in the back room, he'll likely be here, so.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Okay, Linda second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Talk to you later, guys.
Thanks, Jordan. You already hung up.
Out of here.